Hello, everybody, and welcome to the debut episode of Sketch, Watch, Play. My name is John Fleury.
And I'm Christopher Wade.
And we are winning it from this point, other than setting some guidelines about what we're going to talk about. First, a little setting the ground for new listeners, which will be just about everyone. We are both, I think geek is an applicable term to us.
I think so, too.
But also artists. Mm-hmm. Chris and I were former classmates back in our college days a couple of years ago, and we've stayed in touch over the years thanks to stuff like Facebook and Skype. And I've been listening to podcasts for about exactly a decade now, I'd say, back when I started college in 2006-ish. And I've often been interested in doing one of my own to talk about the things that interest me, and have reached out to numerous friends. Chris has been the most vocal and active in wanting to do something about it. So we've set things up on Skype, we've got ourselves some good mics, and we are going to... This first episode is going to be a little more free-form in terms of... We want the format to be an opening 30, 40 minutes where we're just talking about recent media we consumed. The main focus is going to be on, visual media like movies, television, and video games. Also worth noting is that we're both big cartoon geeks, so you'll be probably seeing a lot of that. We may fit in other forms of media like books if one of us sees something that would be interesting. I'm open to that, just so you know, Chris. Mm-hmm. And so this week we're going to mainly do more compact, several little topics, and we've already settled on a primary topic that will take up the majority of the second episode. But I'll start with something that we have both been playing, which is the second to last big title for the Wii U. Because
one sec, John. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but you're starting to cut in and out. Can you hear me proper? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you fine, and so if you have trouble understanding me, let me know.
Yeah.
But the audio is catching everything on my end, so I won't be cutting on the recording, and I can hear you fine.
Yeah, I've heard most of what you said, but towards the end you started breaking up, and now you're starting to break up a lot more. So I think want me to close out, and I'll reconnect with you?
Sure.
Okay, let me do that.
Please stand by.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is, I brought it up, turns out you've been playing it too. I'm thinking it's going to be the second to last big release for the Wii U, since Breath of the Wild is still coming out for it.
Yeah.
We've both been playing a bit of Paper Mario Color Splash.
You hear that? That's the sound of color burglary! So help Paper Mario smash, bash, and crash the color back in its place! Paper Mario Color Splash! Rated everyone.
I'm actually going to try and have a review written of it on the site I do work for, New Game Network, possibly, hopefully it'll be published tomorrow. But it's interesting because lately, like, Paper Mario has had such a tumultuous kind of history, especially like with those who are really devoted to its first two entries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the first game established a clear template, Thousand Year Door built on that, and then both Super Paper Mario and Sticker Star totally revamped things and generally were not considered as good. Like, it's funny, Nintendo fans were pissed about Sticker Star.
Yeah, I didn't hear very good things about Paper Mario Sticker Star. And it didn't really look particularly interesting for me because I have a hard time playing things on the 3DS as it is.
Oh, why's that?
For some reason, and I think this is probably my carpal tunnel kicking in, but my hands hurt when I play the 3DS.
Oh, I think you might have told me that before. Yeah. Maybe if you like prop it on a desk at like shoulder level or something, that would help.
Yeah, I'll most likely get something, or I'll just buy a pair of tiny hands, and I'll just work at it from there.
Little hands on sticks.
Yeah, just little tiny, like, it has to be like the Mickey Mouse gloved hands on little rods, and I'll just play a 3DS through there. Yeah, Sticker Star I heard was not great, and I'm probably all of two people on Earth who actually liked Super Paper Mario. It was a wild departure, mind you, and to be perfectly honest, I never really finished it. So
it actually has a very strong ending. I think the general reception to it was generally positive, but I think most people thought it wasn't as good as the first two, which I would agree with.
Okay.
And I never played it again after I beat it, so I can't remember exactly why it didn't work as well, but it was a fun diversion. Sticker Star, like, I'm sure if you look online, you can find out, like, they rehauled the battle system in a way that just didn't click as well. There was a much reduced emphasis on story and unique characters, because apparently Shigeru Miyamoto, who created the series, I think he kind of felt like there was they didn't need to keep adding new character types to the series, like which they were doing in every game. And I think he feels like Mario games don't really need a story, which I get for the platformers, but RPGs, especially when they have that template, that was an odd move to make. So basically, Sticker Star was just Mario, Peach, Bowser, bunch of Toads, bunch of default enemies, and like one partner character who you don't actually fight with.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, it wasn't horrible from what I played. And even then, I only got it because I got it for free. Like Nintendo had like a Club Nintendo promotion, and I actually don't dislike it, but it did not draw me to play it for a little while. My brother actually played it for a while. It was one of his first 3DS purchases, and he was enthusiastic about it first, but I think he got a little tired of it. So, Color Splash it got a very hostile. I remember like when they did a Nintendo Direct, it wasn't very bombastic. It was just kind of announced like your standard game, like, hey, Paper Mario, Wii U. And I think they knew there was going to be a ton of backlash because it's directly building on Sticker Star's template. And I do think like some aspects of it still suffer because of that. Yeah. But in others, it's been a big step up. Like, what do you think from what you've played of it, Chris?
As far as Color Splash is concerned,
yes.
I dig it a lot. I can't say that I love it so far, but I do have a real soft spot for mixed medium. And when I say by mixed media, I mean obviously the construction paper and the wild textures and the real physical happy-go-lucky look that Paper Mario has, and with the new graphics engine that the Wii U has,
first high def entry.
Yeah, as opposed to the Wii. Yeah, it's high def, so you're going to be seeing some real good graphical nonsense happening.
Yeah, it is a gorgeous game. I never really thought of Paper Mario as like a graphical showcase, and it's not a powerhouse or anything. Like, it's intentional, simple. Like, the characters are still little 2D drawings that are like kind of flat. They look like they have little texture to them when they get close, like they're made of cardboard or something. Yeah, and the environments are still that very papery papercraft thing, but it still looks very intricate and creative. Have you done any things where that's what I mean, the things that you unlock in battle, which are like these super moves that are like real proper 3D items?
I've gotten to the godlike super moves so far, especially the Space Odyssey 2001.
Have you gotten the fire extinguisher?
I haven't gotten the fire extinguisher yet.
Oh my! I don't want to spoil that. Okay, and also here's the big thing. It is a funny game.
Can I just say this? I mean, I know I've gushed about graphics. I'm a writer at heart, and when I play Color Splash, it is probably the funniest Paper Mario I've ever played.
Yeah.
And, me and Serena and my brother Tyrone were watching me play it, and at some point early on in the game, and I hope I'm going to try very hard not to spoil it, but there is a very large sexual innuendo happening with a certain shy guy in the beginning of the game, and does it
involve Toad?
It doesn't involve Toad.
Okay.
It is just some random shy guy that you find in on like the second story level, and he's just way back in the corner, just doing something very.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah.
Mischievous.
Yeah.
That blew our minds. We could not take that.
There are some oddly dark elements of the writing, but not in a way that it's too much. Like, they found a really good balance.
It was a very sneaky kind of Shrek way of doing things.
Yeah, I would love, if we ever do get that animated Mario movie that people want made, if it was written something like this, I'd be up for it.
If they can get that writer, and I really would like to look for that writer and find out who they are.
I think it's several writers. If you talk about that one instance, sure, but I mean, it was probably some people doing the Japanese release, and then it had a great localization. Like, the translation is top notch. Like, but I feel that way about Nintendo in general. Like, I love the dialogue in Fire Emblem, all those character interactions. Very different game, but similar good dialogue. I kind of, one of my favorite moments comes in the first 20 minutes, because the one new character is your sidekick Huey, since it's very color paint plays. He's this sentient paint can. Very funny character. There's a point where Because one of the gimmicks is Mario gets a hammer that you can fill with paint and use it to restore color to objects drained of it, like, static white things. So whenever a character like a Toad is drained their color, they basically fall into a coma or just a flat white sheet. And so early on, your first fight, the main Toad from Mushroom Kingdom gets drained by a bunch of Shy Guys with straws. You beat the Shy Guys, and so Peach thinks Toad is dead. It's like, everyone, a moment of silence, and there is. And then Huey just yells, "Man, I'm starving. How about we go get a burger?"
Oh my God, what an ass!
Because he knows Toad's not dead, now you can bring it back with paint. But it is so funny.
It is pretty funny. I've seen a couple of people kind of say that they weren't. That they kind of liked it, but it was also a little mean-spirited, and I will agree, it is a bit.
It's dark for Mario.
Yeah, it's definitely not the crazy sugar poppy jazzy Mario that we've come to expect and know.
The music's really good. Did you notice that?
I think it's very surprising, and I think it's kind of nice to have the writing kind of sneak up on you like that.
Yeah, I kind of hope but one of the big writing. I don't know if it even applies to just the writing. One of the big drawbacks is everybody's a Toad. Just it feels very limited for unnecessary reasons. Like, I think Miyamoto said, stick to characters who made their debut up to Mario World. Because have you gotten to the area bosses?
I haven't gotten to the area bosses yet.
Minor spoiler. Each world's boss is one of the Koopalings.
Okay,
which is their first time in the Paper Mario series.
Oh, that's awesome.
So not completely new characters, but I love those guys because I've been really happy that, Mario Brothers Wii onward, they kind of had a revival after Bowser Jr. taking the spotlight for so long.
Yeah.
And I like the first one alone is funny. It's Morton. They made him like a big dumb caveman type. Like when you beat him, he goes, "Me not Morton, me Leston." There's a lot of funny stuff like that. They all have little conversations. Have you seen the part? Have you been on the train with the Shy Guy? Oh, you haven't been more yet. There's a part. Have you seen that video with the Shy Guy on the train?
Yeah, I've only gotten as far as I've only gotten as far as probably the 5th or 6th level, and I've hit a wall. Quite literally, it is a giant wall.
Yeah, no. One of the downsides is there's a lot of adventure game logic to it now because of collecting items and characters meeting certain points. So it's easy to get stuck, but it's also easy to look up a walkthrough for things like that. Yeah. I'm not going to elaborate on much. There's a point where you're on a train, and there are actually a bunch of enemy drones that are from Bowser's army, but they're kind of laying low, and you can chill with them. There's this one Shy Guy, you were talking about Oddly Dark, he says, "Hey Mario, come over here," and he basically brings to life like so many memes I've heard, where he starts talking about how like, I hate that I have to be your enemy. I hate that I'm told to go tear up these things for no apparent reason. I hate that my dreams can never come to fruition. I'm just doomed to be a member of Bowser's army. And Mario, I want you to know, I know we're doomed to meet as enemies again, but I hope it can be on with the best of intentions and no bad feelings and stuff. See you later.
That's really cool.
It's hilarious. Like, that's what I mean. Like, that oddly dark but not overboard thing. Like, people have made jokes about that forever. Like, talking about all the Goombas who Mario must kill and like with the consequences of their families and stuff. This isn't so much about death, but just like this a random Bowser grunt just questioning his life and like, oh god, my job sucks. I mean, it must suck working with Bowser. He's a big bully. He's an idiot, and he's just he just wants to take over everything, and it's a political analogy here. But I'm really digging it, and I even like. I think the battle system is kind of because it's going off. I'm not a big fan of consumable items representing your moves. It's hard to. It's annoying to scroll through all of them when you got to pick a move. It needs better categorization.
If I'm being honest, I think that's Color Splash's like weakest incentive to play. Like, there's a lot of charm and there's a lot of it has a really gorgeous atmosphere. Yeah, and the writing and the visual presentation is really nice.
And actual level exploration is fun too, I think.
Yeah. The gameplay itself I found to be extremely tedious. Like, I think this game was built for possibly newcomers to the Paper Mario series.
Yeah. Well, Sticker Star in the first place, it's very much similar to it.
Yeah, and I think that if you're coming off of the original Paper Mario and Thousand Year Door, you're jumping into Color Splash, having to look at look at the having to look at the gamepad and look at the TV screen, there's a very large disconnect there, and there's a lot of swiping. There's a lot of trying to switch to different cards.
Yeah, and too many additional steps. Like you select cards, it's like paint them. Okay, flick them on the screen to make sure. Like I could have done this seconds ago, and it's weird that I feel like in like the last year of the Wii U as like a prominent system, they've kind of recommitted to that, because that's what kind of ruined Star Fox Zero for me.
Star Fox Zero, I think, I didn't really play much of it.
I gave up on it pretty quick.
Yeah, well, I heard a lot of people gave up on it, and I know that Miyamoto wants people to give it a chance. They give it a chance, and they put it down. It's weird because they had a really good presentation going for it, and then they added tilt controls, which is not a good decision. If you're going to add tilt controls or motion controls, then please add in like manual controls as well.
Yeah, the aesthetics were good. The gameplay mechanics at the core were good. Mm-hmm. The controls kind of made it a chore at points. I could see glimpses of good stuff there, but
now don't get me wrong. I am still interested in playing Star Fox. Star Fox on the Wii U because I've only played just a very small bit of it.
Yeah.
But even of what I played of it, even though I loved what was happening with the characters, I love the new direction of the story. It just isn't fun to play.
Yeah,
and I don't want to harsh that badly on it. But I can see other people's critique about it being the controls being so.
Yeah.
God.
I don't think it's the worst, but it was probably my biggest disappointment this year, considering how hyped it was, how long we've been waiting for a new proper Star Fox. Mm-hmm. And I mean that partially applies to this game, to Color Splash, with the battle system mainly.
Yeah.
Because they don't really. I guess there's the part where you do the cutouts of the environment.
Yeah.
That's a little cumbersome too, but it actually looks pretty neat visually. I think it's pretty simple.
I think those and they're called. For those playing the home game, these special items are called things for some reason, and I think that's also really cool. But how, at the same time, I think these summons themselves, as cool as they are, you really have to work for them, and not in the good way, not in the way where it feels like you pulled off a challenge, and
sometimes,
you're being rewarded. Yeah, you're being rewarded with a visual feast. Instead. And this is what I do. I just press A when I'm going. Press A repeatedly when I'm going through the gamepad to choose my card, and just let that be it. There's no.
You just pick whatever.
Yeah, I don't take whatever. But when I choose my card, instead of actively pressing the screen,
painting them and stuff.
Yeah, I just press A and go about my business. For
me, it depends on how big the enemy is. If it's a boss or mid boss, I'll want to make sure it's painted. Yeah. But sometimes I'll just scroll because you get so many coins in that game.
Yeah,
you're never in any danger of running out of points. You can go back between levels and purchase more, like any card you've previously unlocked anytime. Yeah, so
I think the reward system is awesome. I think that it just beating a row of Shy Guys and having them explode in coins and mount. Yeah, and hammer points. I think that's pretty amazing.
And that's interesting. That was actually another problem people had with Sticker Star was battles were essentially pointless. There was no XP equivalent. Like in Color Splash, when you kill a lot of enemies, they drop hammer things, and they build a meter that'll allow you your max paint storage to increase, which is necessary as the game goes on. Sticker Star, I think you just got coins and sometimes stickers, which were the equivalent of the cards, and those were also strewn all over the landscape. You could buy them, so many people just often skipped over a lot of smaller battles. That was I think the game's biggest gameplay mistake.
Yeah,
and they did fix that here.
Even with that said, even with I like the reward system a lot, but getting to the rewards, like choosing the card, painting the card, confirming the card, and then finally playing the card. In Paper Mario, you just choose a move, choose a character, choose an enemy, and you're done.
There's like too many inputs that you need to do.
Too much middlemanning in that regard, just to use a touchpad. And if you're living in the world of 2016, you know what a touchscreen is, and you know how to use it.
And actually, you you can set the touchscreen to button control from the options menu.
Cool. Okay.
So I did that. That helps speed things up quite a bit.
Okay.
And it's to this game's credit that we've spent like a while talking about its flaws, that we're still having a blast with it. It is so charming.
I do like it a lot, and I think that it's pretty challenging. I've only died, I think maybe once so far.
So it's not challenging.
Well, I've heard it is very challenging, but
it does later on with bosses and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So far, I think it's kind of easy, but I did hear that you really have to work for that game because it's punishing. But obviously, you've had a different point of view on that, so I guess I'll find out soon enough.
I haven't completely finished yet, but later enemies do require a little more strategy and in terms of what you do, how powerful your cards are, and even the first boss requires you to use a specific thing to disable his weapon. So there's that as well. That's where I first died, was against him. So
before we move on, I just found out that that the writer for this game is also the director for this game. His name is Taro Kudo, and he's a game designer. He's also a video game composer. So he's worked on the original Mario RPG, apparently, Superstar Saga, and Sticker Star as a co-director and scenario designer.
So he's dabbled in every sub-series of Mario RPG.
Just about, yeah. I mean, not every installment, but he's had his hand in.
Yeah, but the original and the 2 series we got out of it.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised we never got a proper Mario RPG 2.
Me too.
I mean, I know for a while because Square split. But maybe it could happen again someday. Who knows?
I'm hoping. I mean, this guy apparently did some stuff with Square and Konami, so he's had his hand in it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I gotta give him a lot of props for if he was the head writer and director, then I think he had a really good vision, and even like with some of the limitations put in front of him.
Yeah.
I can't stress how surprisingly hilarious I found this game.
Yeah, thank you, Kudo. It's pretty awesome so far.
It is more than enough to keep me playing through like boring battles and toads after toads after toads.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be upset if the next Super Mario sticks to this template. I also won't be surprised if they try something completely different again, because that's what Super did. That's what Sticker Star did. We'll see. And I won't be upset if they go back to the pinnacle of the first 2 games. But I mean, I feel like it's gonna be a while before we hear about any other Paper Mario anyway.
Yeah.
So moving on. I don't think you've been playing it, but I got it. It launched 2 days ago. Watch Dogs 2.
I heard about Watch Dogs 2.
Did you play the original?
I played some of Watch Dogs. I gotta be honest, it wasn't really my type of game.
No, I'm one of the few who really liked that game. I think that was kind of closest thing to No Man's Sky of that year, which was a lot of hype and a lot of people feeling let down.
See, I'm on the fence about No Man's Sky.
I haven't played it yet.
I streamed it with a friend, and I really, really liked being able to explore and being able to fly and being able to go essentially just about everywhere you wanted, and you'd be able to like pick up these elements, and you get to learn about the animals and the wildlife. But what I didn't like was how the creators essentially gave some false advertising on what the game was actually supposed to be like.
Like the multiplayer?
Yeah.
There wasn't any actual multiplayer? Yeah. That was that's always annoying. Well, Watch Dogs kind of had that happen. Do you remember like the graphics controversy?
Oh, I didn't know about that.
When it was first announced at E3, the graphics looked amazing and and when you got the actual game, I guess partly because it was cross-generation, it looked standard. And so basically they kind of lied with that initial reveal.
Yay.
Okay. Which I will not, that's not something I'm going to be like, oh, whatever, that's false advertising. That's BS.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with No Man's Sky. Yeah, it looks interesting, and I am all for space exploration. That is like one of my... That's like one of my childhood dreams is to explore space. Yeah. So that came really close. But... I don't want to reward bullshit. So
no, nobody. Not most people do, I think. But so to get back to Watch Dogs, the first one, I think what helped me was I never expected it to be one of the best games ever. I wasn't even sure if I was going to love it because of how gritty it was.
Yeah.
And I actually did. Like, I'm a sucker. I've become a sucker for open world games. Like, that's the only reason I tried The Division for 10 minutes was because it's open world. But that's still, that's still like gritty military shooter that I'm normally not into. But I do love GTA. I love Saints Row. Infamous, stuff like that. And Watch Dogs was kind of a GTA type game with the added hacking mechanic, which I actually thought was pretty neat because so many of the stealth elements would revolve around you manipulating the environment. Mm-hmm. And Watch Dogs 2 is it's one of those sequels that's less of a total rehaul and more of a refinement of that But I think the thing that sticks out to me most about it is the overall aesthetic and tone, because I don't know if you've seen much about it.
I've seen some stuff about it. I've seen some screenshots.
It feels very, very different. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that I know certain characters from the first game come back, and the whole premise of what they call CTOS, which is the main system they used to hack.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think it was a Watch Dogs game.
How?
But it's not necessarily a bad thing. It almost reminds me of the later Saints Row games, if you ever played that, where it's not so much the actual plot. You're not fighting aliens. You don't have superpowers and stuff. It's still grounded in reality in the story.
Yeah.
But the characters and the plot and the look is much more vibrant and lighthearted. You're still like a bunch of 20-something hackers going up against the man and exposing corruption and stuff. But
that's the part I like, it being a raging 20-something and going against a man. I feel like I missed the window of opportunity there.
You're still young enough where you could still do it and just not qualify as 20s, I guess. I got 6 months left to fit into that category myself.
Congratulations.
But I want to make a video of just showcasing. I remember there was a part in the DLC for Watch Dogs where you come across this guy who's on a bed all bandaged. When he wakes up, he's like, they just keep stabbing me over and over. And then you look at Watch Dogs 2 where there's a guy with a mask who his eyes are emoticons. And he's like,
what?
Yeah, look him up. It's a character named Wrench. I don't know if you ever see his face. He wears, a mask, and the visor for his eyes are pixelated emoticons.
Check that out. Okay, that's cool.
I don't exactly know how that works, how he can automatically get a question mark when he's confused, but he does it, and he's making references to the Matrix and even Schwarzenegger and stuff. And I remember when he made his Schwarzenegger impression, I rolled my eyes, but then the main character Marcus went, "Man, really?" And when Marcus references the Matrix, Wrench said something like, "Yeah, it's kind of like that, only not so 1999." And it actually works pretty well. It actually did you ever play Grand Theft Auto 5?
Yes.
Its tone is a lot more like that in some ways, which is that it's very satirical now. There are a lot of analogies direct. There is a direct reference to Martin Shkreli.
Oh, okay.
Where you mess with him because he's trying to buy the exclusive rights to a rap album. There is, I can't remember his exact name, but there's a politician whose name begins with T, and it says vote him, make the Bay Area greater or better or something. And also something I haven't gotten to quite yet. There is a full-on Scientology and Tom Cruise spoof.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sure some of it will seem pretty dated in the future, but it's also pretty funny and not actually all that overbearing like I thought it would be. And it's also not as, despite all that, it doesn't feel as, GTA 5 is a very, very cynical game. That GTA has become all about, here's pointing out everything wrong with our culture. And this is less critical and more just kind of a fun-hearted lampoon, which, post-election, I'm kind of grateful for that approach. Even having Marcus himself, be a black youth who starts out, he realizes he's been framed for stuff that he didn't do. It's still not quite as heavy as you would think.
Okay. Maybe
it does get heavy later on, but not yet. And the gameplay itself is fun because they've made some cool little refinements. One thing I find weird is, do you remember how to hack? At least you would press one of the face buttons to bring out a cursor in the middle of the screen and focus it on what you wanted to hack. Here it's different, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because you hold the L1 button or LB on Xbox, and that's will target on the whatever's in the center, and that's when you can. And now you have for certain things you have multiple actions you can do. For something like a generator, instead of just blow it up, you can press a button to have it make noise and attract guards, and then press another button to automatically blow it up when they get within a certain radius, and additional stuff with other stats. So it's a bit more in depth. It's also a little more confusing because of that. And I'm still getting used to the L1 thing. But they aren't major flaws. And the actual world feels like it has not exactly more to do as compared to the first, but it feels a lot more intricate. They have a cool way of introducing side activities by, as you're just randomly driving along, an icon will pop up. You go talk to an NPC that'll talk about some random issue, and then that'll encourage Marcus to, they're still doing the cell phone conversations. He's like, hey, let's get into this, and then that'll add it to. Oh, I love how much more the phone serves as a menu. Like you download apps for certain things, and so you're part of a hacker group called DeadSec. They were a part of the first game, and now they're front and center. And so, that's how you use the DeadSec app to track your missions, track on the map, see your progress. Instead of experience, you attract followers through all your actions. Because the gimmick is they're having people install the DeadSec app on their phones and harness their horsepower in kind of a cloud storage way. And to fight the system. And that's a cute, novel thing that actually feels substantial as you see, you gained 1,000 followers. And they're just little side activities contributed to. There's an app where because it takes place in San Francisco, and I think it actually uses several landmarks besides the obvious ones. And so you can go there and take selfies, kind of like you could in GTA 5 at any point. And doing it for certain points, there's an app that'll say, go here, and you'll get it publicized, and you'll get more followers. There's even, a twist on the taxi minigame that's been crazy taxi and a lot of other stuff. You have specific characters with specific goals. One was a YouTuber who was into extreme stunts. He's like, do some crazy jumps. I'm close to 1 million subscribers. My favorite one that I've done is a guy who built a robot called Johnny 5. And the mission from beginning to end is a bunch of short circuit references. And it's cute. And so I'm sure I'll have more to talk about next week once I've gotten through more of the main missions. I've just been so into just going around and doing all sorts of random stuff. That's what I love about open world games is there's always something awaiting beyond every corner most of the time. But so far, I do recommend it. Definitely to people who like the first game like me. And if you're on the fence, if there were things you didn't like about the first one, look up some videos and details, and then decide from there. And I'll close by saying I know a lot of people have the first one that I also had. The protagonist, Aiden, was so boring. He was kind of feels like some people have tried to copy Adam Jensen from Deus Ex, middle-aged guy with a Batman voice and a trench coat and all emo.
I remember
that was kind of Aiden's problem. He was sympathetic, I thought, but very just stoical and dull all the time. Marcus is fun. He is jovial. He's quippy. He feels like someone who target demographic like us will have a much easier time identifying with. And I'm all for I'm always happy when we get more minority leads in games like that. And I think he's been a good representation of it so far. They don't go too over the top or too vanilla with him. So I'm excited to play through more of it. I'm sure I'll have more to say next week. And so let me bring up here.
Tell you what, one second, you're starting to break up again, and your lip syncing is off. So I'm going to call you right back.
All right,
okay?
So, and I'm going to end this recording and save this part just in case anything happens. See ya.
All right.
Please stand by.
All right, we're back, and the last thing I'll talk about before Chris talks about what he's been watching, I saw Doctor Strange this past weekend.
How was that?
Well, let me preface it by saying there's probably going to be a lot more Marvel talk on this show. We're both fans of the general film series. I'm kind of a mega fan of it. I need to catch up on the Netflix stuff too. I've only seen the first couple episodes of Daredevil, but I love it. Doctor Strange, I do think is worth seeing. I actually think it's the weakest of the origin story movies in terms of actual writing.
That's what I heard, actually. Yeah,
the actual plot and characterization is at many points just kind of simple. I heard people talking about you can see the Marvel formula there. It wasn't so much that for me as much as that they just weren't as interesting and memorable as the first Iron Man or Captain America or Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff.
What I did hear, and you can and please feel free to prove me wrong on this since you saw it. I heard from one of my friends that the actual character that Cumberbatch plays as Doctor Strange, that he's a pretty far departure from the character in the comic book series. He seems like more of a snarky, arrogant Tony Stark than he does Doctor Strange in comic book form.
Okay, I'll tell you right now, I have next to no knowledge of the comics.
Okay.
Most of what I know about Marvel is either through the movies or old cartoons and games and such. But so I'm guessing Doctor Strange is more kind of humble in the comics, kind of more standard. Okay, he starts out pretty relatively arrogant, but not in a way, not to the extent of Tony Stark, where he's constantly coming down on people in a lovable way. But he's obviously very, very confident in himself. The opening scene is him doing surgery and telling this other doctor you're doing it wrong. You thought he was dead, and I'm the one who knows how to do this.
Yeah, doesn't he have old school music playing in the background?
Yeah, it's a fun joke.
I heard about that.
They quip about he can know the exact year and stuff, and they're like, "Why do you know this?"
That seems to be the Marvel template so far.
I think he feels more brought down a bit once, I'm sure like his hands are disabled in the car accident, and then he goes over to Tibet or where it was, Nepal, and that's when things get crazy, and he's much less snarky from that point. Like, he is still confident in himself, and also really wants to learn more because he thinks he can do amazing things with it, but he doesn't come off as so much arrogant for the rest of it.
Okay.
But I also feel that also kind of makes him one of the more vanilla protagonists so far. He isn't a complete cipher like I thought Ed Norton Bruce Banner. Mark Ruffalo thinks that. But he doesn't have as many standout moments or motivations later on. Like, especially when you consider the fact that, like, the only, one close to him back when he's in New York is the Rachel McAdams character. And when the movie starts, they've already broken up. It does stay that way. They're still covered for each other and interact with each other at certain points. But I guess it's more about him making some new contacts and developing a new way of life. So that I think limits it a bit. The villain is, I think Marvel villains already have kind of a reputation for being kind of vanilla a lot of the time. It is one of the worst cases of that, but not the absolute worst. I think the worst is that guy in Dark World who had like 2 lines. That's the worst villain to me in the Marvel MCU. And he's played by Mads Mikkelsen. He has a cool design. Like, you can see his eyes have that kind of crumbling look to them. Yeah. And he participates in some cool action scenes. He gets some okay lines. But he's just not in it. Like, I always think, like, the best of the vanilla ones is... I liked Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy because even though he was your standard big bad, I think he was still able to come off as a legit threat. And then there are ones I legitimately like I think obviously Loki's the most popular. I like Jeff Bridges in the first Iron Man. I also like Corey Stoll in Ant-Man, which is kind of drawing from the Jeff Bridges character. Yeah. Actually, the interesting thing is, and this is, I'm not going to try and get too much spoiler territory. He's not the only evil threat in the movie. Granted, the other one gets very little screen time, but it's you get the sense of how important he is to this movie and to MCU in general. And one of the cool things is, and so I've talked about the story is kind of substandard. It's not bad, but it is substandard compared to, I think, the batting average for Marvel's movies.
Okay.
Where this movie still managed to win me over is, I'm sure you've heard, the visuals and the creativeness. These are some of the best visuals I've ever seen in a Hollywood blockbuster.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, like, you've seen some of that stuff, like, where they're manipulating reality, and there's, like, this ripple effect it's this trippy... like moving effect. It's hard to describe in the bricks and the buildings and just everything. And
that's awesome.
That's the tip of the iceberg. Like, the scene that you see briefly in the trailer where like the Tilda Swinton Ancient One gives him that out of body experience. There's more to it than just that, where she kind of gives him like this look at like, because it's all about like, we know about all these different dimensions, these realities, these planes, and he goes flying through a bunch of them. It's mesmerizing. It is super surreal, and like, I was worried going in that might throw me off, like that might come off as just too much to me. I was marveling at it. Like, I was like, there's just so many cool creative shots that are just one after another. And then the actual fight scenes, they not quite as trippy and the kind of stuff that I won't spoil, but the manipulation of the matter around them is really, really cool. Like, the first scene Strange has against the villain and his couple henchmen, the way he disposes of them is, well, incapacitates them because it's not the last fight, is really, really clever and ties into the environment he's already discovered that he's in. And without giving anything away, the last fight starts out, well, conventional except for, the environment, and they actually do have a gimmick to it that's already cool. And then when Strange has a final one-on-one confrontation with the last big bad, I'm not going to give anything away. The way they pull it off is refreshing compared to most Marvel movies, and just conceptually, I think it's really clever because Strange realizes what advantage he has over this very, very dangerous force.
That's really cool.
And I actually made a Facebook post about it. There's a recurring quote in that scene that I think you're going to hear a lot. And it is very, that if the movie hadn't already sold me by then, that part did. And I'm not often willing to forgive weak plots in blockbusters. Disrespectful. I think the last time they had me was Jurassic World. I thought the plot that was ever, but I had so much fun with that movie. Doctor Strange is I guess the rating's a little better, but it's a similar situation. Like, if it wasn't for the creativeness, this would be, I guess it still might technically be one of my least favorite MCU movies, but I still really ended up enjoying it quite a bit. And I think it opens up a lot more exciting possibilities for the future of it, because I think it's also going to be a good stepping stone of that, and Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor have kind of been showing us the more crazy and big aspects beyond Earth. And we already know, it's already been confirmed, he's going to play heavily into Infinity War, obviously. And one of the stingers, not going to give anything away, but it definitely gives a hint of how he'll be involved with some other possible upcoming movies. Okay. So I do recommend it. I mean, most people, I feel like most MCU fans have probably seen it by now, or are about to. Like my brother saw it. My brother saw it.
I really would like to take the opportunity to go see it at some point. I know me and Serena have Moana at the top of our list coming up soon, and
getting great reviews so far.
That looks pretty cool.
It's getting great reviews for man. This is if that's as good as the reviews sound. This has been an amazing year for Disney's animation because this ends Zootopia. Like, I think one of them got delayed, and we've already talked Zootopia on our test episode. Amazing movie, and not quite Disney. Finding Dory, I also thought was really good. So killing it this year. If you do see it, let me know what you thought. Maybe we can have a little spoiler talk then. I think we're going to have spoiler talk. We talk about things we've both done, but I will we'll give heads up for that. And so I guess the last thing we're going to talk about. All right, so you were telling me about an anime you've been watching. I hadn't heard of it. What is the name of it again?
Let's see. I was going to talk about Yuri on Ice.
Yes.
However, I have a little bit more knowledge of Dragon Ball Super at the moment.
That was it. Yeah, let's save Yuri on Ice for another time. So you and Serena is his wife, for new listeners, have been watching Dragon Ball Super?
Yeah, we've been watching Dragon Ball Super, and it's a bit surprising because...
How so?
Well... all right, let me preface this first, because while I enjoy Dragon Ball for its goofy characters and its gigantic universe and all the crazy explosions that they can think of, oh my god, it is by far probably some of the most boring storytelling that you will probably find in anime. And I don't mean that as a giant
middle
hammer.
Finger.
I don't mean it as a middle finger, because I have a bunch of respect for Dragon Ball. I love the tone of the show. I love the characters of the show, and I love that even though the show is basically do whatever you want, you get the sense that you're having fun throughout the entire thing.
It's a very imaginative show in its concepts.
Yeah,
that's something I will always get prepared for.
And going into Dragon Ball Super, I have to admit I wasn't really too excited about it. I mean, number one, I'd already seen Battle of the Gods and the
Resurrection of F.
Yeah,
doesn't it start out doing recreations of those?
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super does go into
I was thinking I've watched the first half hour of Battle of Gods. I also bought Resurrection F, and I like what I've seen so far. I'm thinking I might as well skip over those arcs, but you tell me what you think.
Yeah, because I don't want to say do that, because there are some things that happen. It's just that being spoiled by the internet, I didn't care.
Yeah, and so they do add some plot elements to these.
They add some plot elements. They're very small but significant. And what they essentially do is they open up the playing field for new for multiverse characters, for essentially more gods coming in.
Isn't one of the villains like a parallel dimension Goku, basically?
Yeah, essentially. Okay. I don't want to. I think we're at the point where I can start dropping some hints here and there.
Yeah. Okay. Some fair warning. Some Dragon Ball Super spoilers ahead.
Yeah, definitely spoiler alert. If you don't want to hear about it, then I suggest just finding a free trial of Crunchyroll and going through Dragon Ball Super, because as far as I know, most of it is already up there. From what I saw on Crunchyroll, they have all the way up to the Resurrection F arc.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they did for the movie. And then for some reason on Crunchyroll, they skip a gigantic arc and jump right into, and this is where the spoilers come in, Trunks coming back. And Trunks comes back. And
Future Trunks?
Yeah, Vegeta's Trunks. He comes back from the future. And
he comes back again. Okay.
Yeah. At this point, Future Trunks returns. He's already defeated Majin Buu. Of course, the androids are destroyed, but he comes back and he's like, holy crap, guys, there is a new villain on the loose. And guess what? He calls himself Goku. I'm sorry, he calls himself Black, and he looks like Goku.
Yeah.
And he went out and killed everyone.
The future still sucks.
Yeah, I'm defending a small city at the moment, but he is just kicking my ass, and he killed Mom. Bulma's dead in the future.
So basically everyone's dead at that point except Trunks, because I remember I saw the Trunks OVA back in the day, like Gohan died and then Bulma and Trunks were basically all that was left of the Warriors.
Yeah, and now it's like him, Mai, and Yajirobe are the only ones left.
I read that. So, like, is Mai kind of closer to her original Dragon Ball self now?
Yeah, in the future. In the
future, yeah.
Future Trunks' timeline, she is older and she is back to shooting shit up.
Yeah, okay. Because I remember, just a clarification, in Battle of Gods and I guess Resurrection F, we see Pilaf, Mai, and what's his name, Shu.
Yeah.
For the first time in a while, and there's like just a joke to them where they wished for eternal youth or something for the Dragon Balls. Yeah. It ended up making them kids, so they're kind of, it's the same characters but smaller. So I guess if in the future, it's kind of closer to the Mai from original Dragon Ball.
Yeah, Dragon Ball Super is, that's actually one of my biggest criticisms of it, but I do like Dragon Ball Super and what it does.
Wait, what's one of your biggest criticisms?
Well, I'll get back to it, because it has to do with those three characters, Pilaf, Mai, and Shu. I want to talk about what's good about Dragon Ball Super. And essentially, if you love everything about Goku and Vegeta, then you're going to love Dragon Ball Super because they're just beating shit up, basically.
Is it still mostly about them?
Well, we're already in spoiler alert territory. Yeah. Honestly, even though Goku gets a lot of the fighting spotlight, which is something that I don't like, there are some really good scenes with Vegeta that I absolutely love. And Vegeta and Trunks have an episode where Trunks essentially goes to the past to get help. And he's feeling down about his loss. And Vegeta helps train Trunks in the way that only Vegeta knows how, by beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, tough love.
And
I remember, at least in Z, Vegeta never seemed that fond of future Trunks.
No, well, I think Vegeta has respect for future Trunks at this point. Vegeta's mellowed out considerably.
Yeah, he's raising a kid now, so I guess you have to.
He's raising a kid, and Trunks comes back to the past, and he realizes that holy shit, Goku and Vegeta can go God form, and I don't have to do anything. The future is fine. I don't have anything to worry about. And Vegeta gets up in Trunks' face. He's like, no. This is your fight. You didn't come all the way here and let so many people suffer to have us fight your battles. We will help you, but
I like
don't
that. That sounds like a very Vegeta action.
Yeah. He was like, we're going to help you, but don't give up on yourself either.
We're not going to let you just sit back.
Yeah, well, Trunks was never going to sit back, but it got to the point where Trunks, he was really depressed about what was happening around him and in his future. Black is God mode strong. And by God mode, I mean, if you're playing a video game and someone's putting all the cheats and you're playing against that one person who knows the game back and forth and they somehow managed to score a Game Genie and they're just putting every code imaginable just to kick your ass. That's Goku Black.
So he can destroy almost everything he wants and can barely be touched.
Well, you know how Saiyans have to suffer mortal wounds and heal before they get stronger.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's that weird cheat code that they have where they have to get injured super super badly and then heal, and then they'll be much stronger from that previous fight.
Is that something Black's done?
Black, the longer Goku, the longer Black fights, the stronger he gets.
I get it. Okay.
So it's not Black doesn't even have to get injured. He's just like, I can fight you for 10 minutes and I can get stronger, and that's essentially his power.
How does he stack in terms of how actual evil he is? Because Dragon Ball Z, DBZ villains got pretty awful in that regard.
He's pretty. What's the word I'm looking for?
Sadistic.
He's Sephiroth evil, and I don't mean that. I don't mean that in the terms of I gotta go search for Mother and Mother wants to destroy you all. No, he likes to monologue a fucking lot.
Many villains do. I think Frieza did every now and then. Cell definitely did.
Black takes it to a whole new extreme, and what I like about Super, they do make fun of that. Like,
okay,
Black at some point monologues, and he does this a lot. And he's a super serious character that is supposed to be taken seriously throughout the entire series.
Yeah.
In one particular instance, he's monologuing, and Goku and Vegeta turn to each other, and they start talking, and Vegeta's like, I'm going to go first or something. They just start chatting away while Black is monologuing.
Does he get mad?
And Black still monologuing, and he has a partner at this point. I'm not going to spoil that much.
Okay.
His partner turns to him and he's like, Goku and Vegeta aren't listening to you. And Black is like, I know, but it's something I have to do. I like
that.
My own voice.
Yeah, Z, I remember, like, it still had funny, like, the first Dragon Ball was mostly comedy. Mm-hmm. Z had comedy, but generally not during fights.
Yeah.
Does this have a little more comedy during fights?
There is a good deal more comedy.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
In Super. I think towards the Black arc of Super, it gets a lot more serious.
But there's still stuff like what you just mentioned.
Yeah, and this is where one of my criticisms comes in. Before shit with Black really kicks off, the show really concentrates on Mai, Shu, and Pilaf for the humor. And it is not good.
Oh.
It is not funny stuff. It's actually kind of uncomfortable and cringeworthy.
Okay. What I saw of them in Battle of Gods I thought was pretty funny, but not so much in Super.
And you know what? That's fine. But I can only take them in very small doses. And I've always had a problem with Dragon Ball and ballooning its cast. You got a whole trove of characters, and you're only concentrating on these three.
The farther you got into Z, the more it was just about the Saiyans.
Yeah. And now we get to these three characters. And here's a spoiler. I'm going to go ahead and let them give you guys a heads up. Small childhood, current present day Mai develops a large crush on future Trunks. Okay. This does not sit well with current day Trunks.
Oh yeah, doesn't he in Battle of Gods? Doesn't he like the Kid Trunks likes Kid Mai?
Yes, Kid Trunks likes Kid Mai.
Yeah.
But by the time Future Trunks comes along and Future Trunks tells Mai how he admired her in the future, Kid Mai loves the shit out of him. And Pilaf and Shu decide that at certain points they decide to try and set up situations where Mai and Future Trunks can proclaim their romantic feelings from one another.
That sounds awkward.
Yeah. On one hand, it's an idea that could be funny, but it's not executed well at all. It's just a whole bunch of jib-jabbing around.
Is it more it's creepy or it's just dumb jokes?
It's both, really, because it's like obviously Future Trunks is like a teenager.
Well, I'm sure Future Trunks isn't actually into it, but
no, he's not, and he doesn't exactly know what's happening. He thinks being inquisitive, and it's nothing crazy, and it's nothing like hentai worthy or anything of that nature.
Nothing in Dragon Ball actually is, but
yeah, they don't.
Other than that one episode of the original where Bulma's
that thing happened to Bulma. That shit was funny. But here, and this is my biggest gripe with this, with these three, and a lot of the points, they're just not funny. They're just not.
And they're taking screen time that could be given to the other characters.
They're pretty much used as a through line for when other characters have more serious situations happening elsewhere. And while exposition is being developed somewhere else, they're basically trying to keep the kids awake for the episode.
Sounds like they turned into Team Rocket.
Yeah, well, Team Rocket, except without the charm.
Oh, okay.
Which I love Team Rocket. They are my favorite characters.
They're my favorite characters in the anime now.
Yeah, they're my favorite characters in Pokemon, and even they got kind of annoying from time to time. But there's a reason why they're there. For Shu, Mai, and Pilaf, I don't see a reason why they're there.
Okay. So has this increased in the episodes you're caught up to, or is it what's the ratio of it compared to?
It's pretty glaring towards the top of the Goku Black arc.
Okay,
and that's only because Trunks is basically just chilling out in the pad.
Yeah, he doesn't have anything else to do.
Yeah, while everyone gets their shit together, and there are some good side stories that happen. Trunks meets up with adult Gohan. And I think that was just the writers trying to explain what's happening to Gohan and why he's not going to be battling anytime soon.
Refresh my memory. Is Pan a character at this point?
Pan's a baby.
Okay, so technically yes.
Pan's a baby, and because she was a Super Saiyan in the womb, if that is still canon, because I didn't go back and watch those episodes within Dragon Ball Super, she is now able to fly as a baby.
I like that.
Yeah, and what adult Gohan does is he essentially turns into the Great Saiyaman and goofs off with the baby. Now, a lot of and you know what? A lot of people cringe when they hear the Great Saiyaman is made his triumphant return.
I remember kind of liking that stuff.
I actually hated it.
It's been a while. Maybe we did hate it. I don't know.
Well, from what I understand, a lot of people do not want badass Gohan back.
Yeah.
But the show does a good job of establishing Gohan had his time, and he's never really liked fighting. He's only fought when there was no other choice.
Yeah, like when he was the only one who could stand up against Cell.
Yeah, and at this point,
that's like the only. I feel like that's the only Z arc where he truly takes front and center by the end.
Yeah, which I loved.
Yeah,
like,
when Goku's back by the Buu arc, it's all about him and Vegeta again.
Yeah, and I kind of disliked that. It kind of deflated what how Cell ended.
I mean, if we're talking general review, I think Frieza and Cell are peak. Those sagas are peak DBZ for me.
Yeah,
Saiyan and Buu are good, but not as good.
But even so, Dragon Ball Super spends an episode with adult Gohan and explains Gohan's happy. He doesn't have to go out and fight if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he can be a dad and a regular guy for the most part.
Yeah, so Future Trunks doesn't even tell him. He's like, they just.
Oh, he doesn't tell him who he is?
Future Trunks, they know who they are, but Future Trunks just doesn't let him know that shit's popping off in the future.
Oh, he doesn't want him to worry. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's something you like.
Yeah.
The Pilaf trio stuff is one of your biggest problems.
Yeah.
What are some other? What can you name, like at least one other big pet peeve or big praise about it?
Here's a big praise about Dragon Ball Super. It does this is going to go into a bit of a criticism, but it works its way around.
Okay.
Like I said, Goku gets a lot of the fighting spotlight. Obviously, there are several points when there is Battle of the Beams and where Vegeta or Trunks tries to fire back at Goku Black. Regular Goku just shoots a Kamehameha and gets the good explosion that severely damages the opponent. That shit's annoying. I mean, I know Goku is like the star character and he's the strongest character. However, at several points, it's like, well, if you're just gonna Kamehameha, just throw like an energy beam at him, then why didn't you just open with that, dude? I'm gonna go full power later on. No, people are dying, you asshole. Go 100%.
To be fair, Goku's always been kind of a dummy.
Goku has been a kind of a dummy, and what I liked about Battle of the Gods is that they established that he can be a real dick. But what I did like about Dragon Ball Super is that the times when the other main fighters get spotlight, they get really good spotlight. When Vegeta fights Goku Black, he gets really good moments where it's just him going up against this particular villain. Trunks has a lot of good fights too, but there's a specific instance where Trunks fights Goku Black, and he fires off an energy beam, and it's his best beam yet. And he can't hold it, and Goku Black is just firing off every I guess 10% of what he has, whatever.
Oh, he's firing back. It's clashing beams.
Yeah, it's the battle of the beams. And Trunks can't hold the beam any longer. And then Vegeta steps in and fires off his a Gatling gun, and they're both doing a father and son Gatling gun.
Oh, that's cool.
It's an homage of what happened with Goku and Gohan during the Cell Saga.
Oh, well, I thought you were going to say what Vegeta did at the end of the Cell Saga. He distracted Cell, and that helped Gohan kill him.
Well,
this is different.
In this one, he steps in with Trunks, and they fire a father-son Gallet gun at this guy.
That's pretty cool.
And it is pretty brilliant. And I'm gonna save this one for you. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but okay. Trunks gets a really, really nice spotlight during the show. And
in a battle, or
yeah, okay. He gets a great battle during this one, and essentially it reminds fans of the series that this arc is for Trunks, and even though Goku got some great hits in, this is for Trunks.
I like that because original Future Trunks, you thought it would be about it when he showed up with the whole Cyber Frieza thing. Then it wasn't. It was still about everybody else.
Yeah.
But I guess ultimately this arc still really is about him. I like that.
Yeah, the show has a lot of pacing issues, and again, Pilaf, Mai, and Shu, they
drive you crazy.
They're not my favorite characters at all, but I can tolerate them because I can fast forward if I need to.
Yeah, so, their bits don't sound super important to the story anyway.
They're really not. Every so often they'll do something that helps out the characters, but it's minuscule at best.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind whenever I watch it.
Yeah, and that's all I got.
All right, I think we are going to bring things to a close for this. I think this went very well, and Thanks again, Chris, for agreeing to go through with this.
No problem.
But I feel like we should say I would like to end each episode with us teasing what we're going to do next.
Oh.
And we may. Well, I'll get to it. And we may take turns picking things because I think I know something we do as for what's going to be the third episode. But Chris, why don't you tell me your suggestion for what we're going to do for our first proper review next week?
Pokemon Sun and Moon. Or maybe
no. What we were planning to do for this first episode, but you need to refresh your memory.
Oh, what we're planning to do for this first episode?
For the next episode.
Oh, for the next episode. Was it Kung Fu Panda? I think it was Kung Fu Panda.
Yes, we're going to talk about the Kung Fu Panda movie trilogy, which is, I understand we both are quite fond of. And I was going to mention to you, we started recording, I'm a big fan of the director of the first one. He also did one of my all-time favorite animated shorts, which is a little thing called More. Have you ever seen that?
More? Never heard of it.
You can find it on YouTube. It was nominated for an Oscar. It's a little claymation short, very surreal in its story and like its actual plot, but it gets its point across pretty well, I think. He recently just did The Little Prince, which was on Netflix. I watched the first half hour of that so far. It's really good. Like, I think we'll talk about it more, but he's good at bringing emotion to animated movies.
Cool.
It's really good timing. Yesterday, they announced what his next movie is going to be. He is going to do an adaptation of the comic book Bone.
Bone. Okay.
Have you read that?
I think I heard some news about that actually.
Yes, that was like yesterday or the day before. He has been signed on to do an animated adaptation, direct it, and
awesome.
I've read all of Bone. I almost said Bong. I've read all of Bone. It is a very good comic, and like I said, it has a lot of character moments and sad and funny, and just there's a lot of emotion to it. And I think this guy is a really good pick for that. So, unless there's a bad script or studio interference, I have hope for this. If it ever gets off the ground, I think they've tried to make a movie of it like twice already. So we will see what happens. But that is going to do it for our first episode of Sketch Watch Play. So I will end up saying you can find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and DeviantArt at Behonkis, BEHONKISS. And Chris, where can people find you on social media?
People can usually find me at Sparkflow Films on Twitter. You can also find me at on Facebook on Christopher, just at Christopher Wade. Just look me up, and I got a silly little avatar running around.
Well, I'll tell people now. It's going to be the same avatar that we'll use in the show's logo.
Yep.
Of Chris's cartoon self. So use that as a basis.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that will do it. And thank you so much for listening. And see you next week.